Hi, my name is Kim Cullen, and I'm a personal injury attorney in Winter Park, Florida. One of the questions that we sometimes receive from our new personal injury clients is, how is a personal injury settlement paid out at the end of the case? And so I thought I would cover that today and give people a little insight into how that works. So in most personal injury cases, the way that a case sort of resolves itself is the insurance company or the defendant in the case decides to pay money in exchange for a release. And normally, then an insurance company does that in the form of a check or bank draft that they send to our office along with a release. And the release is an important document because that's what finalizes the case from the insurance company, the defendant's perspective. Our client signs off on it and says, essentially, I'm accepting your money. I understand there's some risk to me involved. My injuries might get better. They might get worse. I don't know. But I'm taking your money and I'm signing this piece of paper, and I can never come back against you and sue you or ask for money again. Most modern releases also include a provision called a hold harmless agreement, wherein the injured person agrees that at the end of their case, they're accepting this money, they're agreeing that they're going to pay off any liens or medical bills that are still outstanding at the time that the case gets settled. Now, this is sometimes confusing to people because some people have the impression or the idea that there's a mechanism for settling a personal injury case but leaving the medicals open. And that's not how most personal injury cases get resolved. That can happen in a workers' compensation setting or some other very rare circumstances, but most personal injury cases resolve by having a check cut and having the client sign a release and hold harmless agreement. Now, depending on the size of the settlement and some of the factors involved, there are some other sort of unusual or rarely used ways that cases get resolved, and so I want to talk about those briefly. One of those is a structured settlement. So if the settlement is for enough money, then sometimes people elect to have part of the settlement funds deferred. So they're essentially invested in investment vehicles. It may be like a trust account, or it may be in annuities or something like that, where they'll take part of the settlement today and push off the remaining settlement. So it might begin paying off 10 years in the future or 20 years in the future or something like that. That's called a structured settlement, and it's typically only used when the value of the case is very large, and so that there's enough money to move around and make it worthwhile to leave some invested. Structured settlements are usually, when the investments are made, they're usually made in very low-risk investments, so they don't typically earn a lot of interest. Back when I first started practicing law, they were kind of a lot better deal for most of our clients than they are today because of interest rates, but still they're sometimes used in larger personal injury cases. Sometimes if our client's receiving certain governmental benefits, we will put settlement proceeds in what's called a special needs trust, and that's set aside so that a person doesn't lose their entitlement to government benefits, because some government benefits are based on need or based on the client's or the injured person's asset level and that sort of thing. So the laws allow our clients to accept some settlement money, but they have to put it in a trust that can only be used for certain types of expenses for the benefit of the injured person. And so that's called a special needs trust. And then the other situation that we sometimes run into is a situation where we resolve a case for children, and the children don't have immediate need for the money, but they might. Before they turn 18, then the court will allow us to place the money into a trust situation where or a guardianship situation where the parent of the child can come to the court or come to the trust and say, hey, I need X number of dollars because my child needs, let's say, braces, or my child needs extra tutoring for school or something like that, where the money is the child's money, the parents can't touch it, and it's in a trust situation, so that the money can only be used for the child, and then whatever's left over when the child turns 18 becomes the child's. So those are most of the ways that settlement funds are distributed or dispersed at the end of a personal injury case. If you have a personal injury case or you have a question about how settlement monies are handled at the end of a personal injury case, please call us. We love to answer questions. All you have to do is call our office at 407-254-4901. You can text us at 407-644-4444. You can email me to my personal email address, kmc@cullen-hemphill.com. If you have questions similar to the one answered in this video, you can visit our YouTube channel where we have hundreds of other videos that answer questions just like this one, where you can even find more videos, blog posts, and legal articles on our website at www.cullen-hemphill.com.